This episode brought to you by the following patrons: James, Sunzi, Steph, Holly, Natasha, Laura, Gorotica, Vance, Boezy, Jeremy, Ali, Jennifer with a PH, Mr. Ragebomb, Libby, Wes, Dreskel, Aaron, Kristen, Tia, Lauren, Jonathan, Kate, Isaac, and Karoon. And all the patrons want you to know you're loved, you're listened to, and you're a valuable member of this awesome Horror Virgin community. And if you want to hang out with us, do so in the Facebook group where we hang out daily.
Thank you for tuning into Horror Virgin. I'm Paige.
And I'm your Horror Virgin, Todd, which means I don't like scary movies, but you guys make me watch them. But this week, because Mikey is on vacation, we are joined by a very special guest, Jules Fernandez.
Yay!
Jules, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely.
Love horror movies. I'm Mike today.
Yay!
I have a feeling you're going to be way classier than Mikey is. But Mikey isn't here today, but you might hear him in a special phoned in from the beach Patriotical. So stay tuned for that. And we watched Pet Sematary today.
Yeah, the original Pet Sematary.
Yeah, because we, I guess, as a podcast, have done the remake. Paige, I don't know. Were you?
I was not on it.
Yeah, so I don't think you
wasn't
were, which means we should totally revisit that at some point. But this is the first time I had seen the original Pet Sematary. Had you guys seen it before?
This is my first time, actually.
Okay.
It's been a long while for me.
Okay, but so you've seen it. You saw it maybe as a kid, Jules?
I wouldn't say a kid. Looking at it, I would have been freaked out if I was watching that movie as a kid. But like watching it, I think I want to say at least after I was 18, I rewatched it. Yeah.
Okay. So for Paige and me, it was our first time. So what did you think, Paige?
Yeah. Well, I was really familiar with the story going into it. So I knew it was going to happen. And I had seen portions of the newer one, and I didn't want to watch the new one in its entirety until I'd seen this one, and I knew we hadn't done it. So I actually waited. I was actually kind of impressed with this. The first two acts of this are great. The third act goes off the rails in a delightfully weird way.
I loved it though, Paige. Like when we get a father struggling to throw off his, 18-pound toddler, I was like, what is happening? Can you keep a scalpel in a felt case and then use it the next day?
No,
that's not sterile?
Absolutely not. Not sterile.
Why would he have medical instruments? Whatever. It was the 80s. It was probably terrible for everything.
My favorite was just the doll hands with scalpels taped to them. Every time I saw that, I lost my mind. It was great. Big fan.
Yeah.
But overall, I really enjoyed it. I feel like, and this is always my complaint anytime we do a Stephen King anything, he does such a great job of tying the needs and wants of his characters to real life pain.
Yeah.
That it works. And then it's just the supernatural element that gets weird with it.
Yes, I agree. And I'll say this is going to sound insane, and I apologize if you're a fan of Ari Aster. I am too. Hereditary's a better version of this, but it's sort of this, right? On some level.
Yes.
And man, Hereditary's way better than the original Pet Sematary. I would say even than the remake of Pet Sematary. But I did sort of have a good time watching this because, and something I've learned in watching these movies for the past 5 years-ish, like the 80s and early 90s have a specific vibe that's just not as scary.
Oh yeah.
It's like a lot of creeping dread or a lot of walking slowly through a house when there's a 2-foot toddler and that's not really scary, but they're treating it like there's a murderer in the house, and technically I guess the baby is a murderer, but you know what I'm saying, like a home invasion kind of murderer, but it's just so crazy to me.
Here's the flip side. I was sitting and watching this movie and thinking there are really good scary moments, but they're just not quite you could make them scarier, just atmosphere or whatever. I was like, yeah, man, if you took this Ari Aster levels of spooky, and then I was like, oh, that's just Hereditary.
Yeah,
I'm
it
describing
is just Hereditary. Yeah, except instead of Optimus Prime wrecking the kid, it's a phone pole. But it's the same.
It's the road. That damn road.
That road. I don't know who decided to build a house off just the busiest
one lane truck speedway.
Yeah. Because those trucks are going 60 miles an hour, and it's two houses, like subdivision close to the road. It's not like they're way off the road.
Yeah.
The houses are very close to them going like 60 miles an hour.
Yeah, if it was like a driveway that took you down a road, it was basically you're going to a compound, I can buy that. But if it's, the house is right here and then the road right past you, that's just bad planning.
I had a thought of what if this movie existed in the universe of Maximum Overdrive? That it is just taking place as the rest of Maximum Overdrive is happening.
I did think it was pretty wild that when it was time for Gage to die, like segment of the movie started with us getting to know the truck driver. Like this guy has nothing in this movie. His job is to murder a child. And
then go to so much therapy, I bet.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yes. I don't think it was murder. Like, it was definitely not premeditated. It was baby slaughter at very most. But when we get 30 seconds of him singing a song, and then we see him murder a child.
And it cuts back and forth to him multiple times. And I was like, I'm sorry. Are we getting a day in the life of the Chekhov's truck driver? Like, what's happening?
It is, Paige. It is wild.
It's crazy.
Oh, man.
But the cherry on the top, though, is just the moment that the family is having before the truck hits it.
Yes.
It's just the most hallmarky of Hallmark family moments.
Yes.
Just like, oh, you got that air, that kite in the air. There it goes. Oh, look at that. You got it, Gage. Oh, way to go. Everyone's laughing, chuckling, having a good old It's like, oh, yeah, why wouldn't something bad happen?
Yeah.
It's like a Norman Rockwell painting.
Yeah. You could not have a more perfect day.
Yeah.
Everyone's getting along. The kite is in the air. I don't know how many times you've tried to fly a kite. Keeping it up in the air, unless you're like pretty good at it, not easy. Like every time I've tried to fly a kite, it's a lot of me being like, crap, I gotta untangle the string again. Like that.
Why is it like Christmas lights every time? It's like Christmas
every
lights.
Time. Damn it. I shouldn't have coated it in glass.
I don't have the arrogance to assume I could fly a kite, so I've never really done it.
Yeah, you're half expecting Gage just to be like, I'm 3 days away from retirement.
And I'm going to see my girl when I get back home. Yeah.
Here's a picture of her. Look at the letter she wrote me.
I'm coughing up blood all of a sudden. Sorry.
Don't mind me and my bloody handkerchiefs. I'm about to inherit wealth. Yeah.
What's also wild is just how destroyed the truck is after hitting a child. As if the child was made of the purest cinder block ever. Like he still dies, but the truck is just totaled.
When we see the truck on its side, I was like, that baby wouldn't have done that to that truck. No. No.
That baby has a skull of steel.
That has to have been baby Superman. And if that case, like, it's fine. Like when you see the truck on the side, you're like, oh, maybe he survived because
did he swerve out of the way and flip the truck?
Like, there's no reason for that.
And then they just bury the truck driver in the cemetery.
In the new Transformers movie, Megatron just starts chucking babies at Optimus Prime.
Where do you think Megatron came from? When you hear the honk honk on the winds at night, yeah, like that.
I like how it ended like it was a ghost story, Paige.
Yeah.
But no, in like reality, like the truck would have hit it like it was a ticklish watermelon, and it would have like it would not have hurt the truck a whole lot.
Yeah, only as much as like a water balloon full of blood would hit a truck. Like that's basically what it would be.
One of the best scenes I've ever seen of a kid getting hit by a car.
I can't believe there are multiples for you to choose from.
There's a good
Jules.
one out there. If you guys haven't seen the movie Megan yet, you full on see that car make the follow through.
Yeah. That car looked like it was getting retribution.
Yeah. Oh God. But also that teen was an asshole, so you're kind of like, yes.
But also, I mean, we don't know what Gage was going to grow up into. I mean,
that's true.
I mean, there's a reason Optimus Prime had to come back from the future to take him out. Like, there's a reason.
I have to stop Gage before it's too late.
I didn't realize you rolled with an Optimus Prime impression.
Autobots, roll out and run over that goddamn baby.
All right, now do it as Patrick Warburton.
We got to run over that kid over there.
Paige,
Honk, honk.
I didn't realize Jules rolled deep with the impressions. I'm losing my mind.
Oh, it gets more obscure as we go.
Those are the best, though.
I will. I'll spoil what Jules and I were doing at 2 a.m. this morning. Jules told me that when they have The Rock or like John Cena or somebody in a movie,
It's really any celebrity, but yeah,
any celebrity, yeah. When they have to do ADR, they don't bring them in for like grunts and stuff. They bring them in for like lines, but the like like they just bring somebody else in that kind of sounds like them.
It's almost like being a Foley artist, I'd imagine, on some level.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's mostly like it's whatever the audio they couldn't capture on the day. They don't want to spend millions of dollars for The Rock to come in to record a couple lines for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So they hire someone like me who can just do his voice. I come in and just, all right, here we go.
Oh my God. I love this.
Doug and I spent like 30 minutes just shouting suggestions at Jules of just like, okay, but what if The Rock had just taken a pretty hard dump? Go.
I'm going to drop in a little plot just for the listeners. That sounds like a wonderful 2 a.m. activity.
Oh, it was great.
Yeah. Like no notes on how you guys spend your free time.
Yeah, just standing outside the Comedy Store after the Comedy Store closed, after they were like, get the fuck out. We're just on Sunset Boulevard being like, okay, but what if he just found out that his best friend from high school came out of the closet and his parents won't accept him? Go.
Oh.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Nailed
Paige,
it.
Jules fucking nailed it. Yeah, asked and answered. Hey, do you guys want to get into the movie so we can go through it scene by scene?
Let's do it. All right, so we open on a bunch of pet graves with the music from Children of the Corn, which it personally one of my favorite Stephen King adaptations, just because it's fucking nuts.
It is crazy.
Yeah. But I have noticed that as we watched Maximum Overdrive, Creepshow, and we've watched Children of the Corn, that like kind of music gets recycled through all of them. Like the only one that doesn't have it is The Shining. It's wild.
You could have told me that it was the same music as all three of those movies and I would buy it, Paige.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even say it was a corn fact. But the opening credits are 3.5 minutes of like melodramatic, like camera swoops through the pet cemetery. But it's so like 80s that, especially in the last shot as they're like pushing in under the sign and like, you know, the graves are getting bigger because you're getting closer. I thought we were going to see like a paw shoot through the ground. Like it's that sort of melodrama. Like, but like it's 3.5 minutes of opening credits. It drove me insane. It's too much.
Yeah. But we cut to Chekhov's truck barreling down the road.
I do love that we see like aggressively 8 or 9 trucks fly down the street before they decide to get a fence.
Yes.
Like, anyway, it's insane that they have that many warnings. And their cat also dies.
When the cat died, that would have been fence day, if not before.
Yeah.
100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Also, don't let your cats outside. Just like keep them inside.
They live 3 times as long inside. It's like a whole thing.
Yeah, Paige, they do live 3 times as long.
For some context,
Jules.
Todd has too many pets, and they are living unnaturally long lives.
You want to know how my girlfriend is hot, Jules? She had 7 animals when we started dating, and we have 7 animals now.
And one's died. They replaced one.
Well, that was my fault.
Just a trip to the cemetery. It'll all fix it up.
Yeah. I was her owner, Paige.
As they say in this movie, sometimes dead is better.
Sometimes dead is better.
Okay, so like when Pupcake died last year, I did like dig the hole and stuff. So like when we were doing that in this movie, I was like, oh, this is like
just
a little
PTSD.
too much for me right now. Like I just worked through some of this in EMDR. Like it was traumatic. Thanks a lot, Steven.
Between that and people getting hit by trucks, man. Like this is not a good movie for you.
This honestly honestly, I mean, if it wasn't so silly, I would probably be way more triggered by this movie and be more emotionally like anxiety induced, you know? Like, I just don't have that because it's like sort of silly. Like, Hereditary, I think, nails my specific traumas, and that's why it's my 10.
Sure.
Yeah. I can see those elements in this movie, but it's not executed in a way that is actually scary. It's just really sad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But and then at the end, we get like a slightly scarier Chucky movie. So there's that.
And tinier. I think fully, Gage is smaller than Chucky. Like, okay.
Yes.
So Gage versus Chucky in a like fight to the death. Who wins? Chucky every time,
Chucky.
right?
Chucky's gonna eat
yeah.
that kid's lunch. But also, like, I don't know where they found Gage because he's the cutest baby I've ever seen in my entire life.
And that works so well until the end, Paige.
Well, at the end, it made it worse because he was still really cute. But then they were like, okay, now look mean. And he was just like, and I was like, he's so, look,
I'm a
he's
demon.
mean now.
But you're very much like, oh, but you're like so like he would have killed us, is what we're saying.
Is that a little scalpel?
Hail Satan!
Yeah, this is a little.
Hear me! Just turned into Skeletor.
Well, and then he keeps like, ha 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 ha. He laughs like the baby in the sun from Teletubbies, and just like, I'm gonna play with you now. And I'm like, run away! That kid did not know that many words. Who was talking for that kid?
Also, just kick it. Like, it's like 25 pounds. Like, why are we fighting it? Like, what are we doing? I got how Jeb, he got his Achilles tendon, like, cut.
Sure.
That was a sneak attack.
The hostile special, yeah.
Yes, but I get how that happened. Could have happened to anybody. But when he falls onto his back and the kid climbs on top of him and he doesn't immediately take him by the legs, swing him, and throw him away, it just made me laugh. I was just like, oh, well, I guess you're just going to let it kill you? Like, what? You're an idiot.
It weighs about as much as a large cat. Like, what are we doing?
Exactly. When he, like, half this movie, he's carrying a 6-pack of, like, glass bottles of beer. That
Which
would be
weigh
heavier
more than
than
that
this
child.
Yes. Yeah. I know you can lift it, Jeb.
Just throwing a beer would take it out.
Yeah. From across the room.
Yeah.
Anyway, our little family arrives at this house, and as they're kind of unpacking, we do see that they have a cat and a little girl.
Yeah.
And Judd, the neighbor, comes out and is like, you're the new doctor. Nice to meet you guys. Watch out for that road, though. Like, I don't know if you've seen, but it's a fucking death trap. And as he's talking about it, Gage has kind of wandered up, and he chases him down and grabs him before he walks into the road. Have either of you saved a child this way?
No.
That's oddly pressuring, Paige. Good Lord. Oh, have either of you saved a child? Like, damn, Jules. Listen, I'm going to go ahead and let you, out of respect, answer first.
I've worked at theme parks, and I'll tell you right now, I let shit unfold. It's not my kid, not my responsibility.
I'm not getting involved in a case today. No, thank you.
I'm not going to fill out the forms.
I said, hey, don't do that. I did all I can do.
Yes.
Just like Willy Wonka, like, no, stop. Don't.
Exactly.
Yeah, if that kid wants to get in front of a tram while it's coming at 20 miles per hour, I'm not getting in the way.
No.
I don't get paid enough to save children.
That's true. I did at a wedding, and I can't remember if I told this on Romancing the Pod, but it was a wedding that was next to an indoor stream, and they gave the flower girl a bunch of cold medicine because she was sick, and she was delirious and also 3. And she just like...
So what you're saying is she was drunk as a 3-year-old.
Out of her fucking mind on cough medicine,
right.
you know.
So you're hanging out with a drunk toddler. Please continue.
Yeah. She was on that scissor, and she wandered towards the indoor stream, and I was not in the wedding. I like had prepped and helped stuff kind of behind the scenes.
So wait. Were you the help at the wedding that saved the child?
Yes.
Oh my God. Is this where you met Jake? This is like the perfect meet cute. Okay.
No.
I think I've seen that episode of Party Down, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is a thing.
You save a child. He's off like chopping down a tree, shirtless. He's like,
he was like, I was just building this gazebo for the event space, and I saw you save this child. Has anyone seen my shirt?
I was 17. The bride was 19, and it was like living through an episode of Party Down. But I watched this like scissor drunk toddler wandering towards the stream, and the person who was supposed to be watching her was not paying attention.
They were off flying a kite or some shit.
They were like drooling over the bride's brother, whatever. So like,
I love how Paige remembers what they were doing.
Right.
Like,
'cause
this
I
is
was
something she's
mad at her.
carried for almost 15 years.
I was fucking furious with her. And I like sprinted from the back of the wedding,
Just like in slow-mo,
back
like,
row.
no.
And no, I shit you not, the girl was almost airborne falling into the creek, and I just like snaked her around the waist and walked back down the aisle with her and got a slow clap from that side of the wedding mid-ceremony.
the other side of the wedding is just like, who the fuck is this lady? Why are they clapping for her?
They're like, Janice's side of the family won't stop clapping, the assholes.
I don't know. And then I just like handed her to her grandmother, just like, take this. And yeah, I was the unsung hero of that wedding. But yeah, that's how I felt. I felt a kinship with Judd in this moment, as I have also saved a child.
I was never more sure that Paige had a banger of a story than when she asked us if we had saved a child this way.
I also knew that Jules had worked at theme parks, and I was like, I bet they've seen crazy shit.
I've seen, and you know what? You're not allowed to laugh, but inside, I felt joy when I would see kids fall.
I do have a story a lot like that, though, Paige. I was at oh shit, I think it was a Six Flags. I think it was Six Flags. I can't remember which one it was. It was in Texas. Whichever one it was in Texas.
Oh, Six Flags Over America.
Yes, it was.
Arlington. Yeah,
okay.
I've been there.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was at University of North Texas for a drum camp, and on the way back, we went there. Anyway, so I was walking, and a guy was walking towards me, and he stumbled, and I caught him. And we like righted himself, and I was like, I just saved your life. It's not as impressive. It was just like a little one-off, but like whatever, it's fine.
How drunk on cough syrup was he?
I don't think it was cough syrup, and I don't know if they allow alcohol in that park, but he definitely looked like I soaked my fruits in vodka last night and I'm now eating out of this cooler. He had that kind of vibe.
Todd doesn't drink. I like that that's how you think people get drunk at theme parks.
Oh, no, I mean, I only thought that because I've been to festivals when I was playing shows, and that's how people would sneak in alcohol. They would like soak their fruit in like alcohol and be like, no, it's just a bag of, it's like watermelon, it's fine. And then they would just get shit-faced on watermelon at these festivals.
That's not a bad idea. You just have to carry a lot of fruit to get drunk that way.
Oh yeah, all the guys were bitching about the coolers they were having to carry for sure. Yeah.
I've done that with like Jello shots, but they're made into like orange slices, made to look like orange slices.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you just
and
then you're drunk.
When a bunch of the people I went to college with worked at Disneyland, they would stop at Jamba Juice in downtown Disney and get a Jamba Juice, pour half of it out, fill the other half with vodka, and then just walk into the park with a Jamba Juice, because people are like, oh, they just bought it at downtown. Like, clearly it's Jamba Juice.
Yeah.
Or soak your tampons. Don't do that. It's an easy way to accidentally really get sick.
Yeah, I can't waste my tampons also.
Yeah, I've only got so many. That pink tax is a bitch. Anyway, so Old Man Harbinger is like, watch out for the road.
Yeah.
Can I also say, like, in the echelon of like horror icons, for this movie, it's not the cat, it's not even Gage. Judd is definitely like the icon of this movie. Like, he is the mascot of the Pet Sematary franchise.
I honestly had never seen it, but when I saw him on screen the first time, I was like, oh, that's the guy I remember from like pop culture. Like, I've seen him in like GIFs on Twitter, and like you just recognize him.
It's Fred Gwynn, man. It's what's the name from the Munsters? Well, he's the dad in the Munsters.
He's the dad from the Munsters.
Oh, no shit. Okay. I honestly did not know that.
Yeah. Well, and the mom in this movie is Tasha Yar from Next Generation. What? No one else cares. It's fine. She died in some sort of mud puddle. Don't worry about it.
In real life?
No.
No.
Her and Data had a thing. It was like a whole whatever. We can't get into it.
I didn't even realize Data fucks. All right.
I mean,
He's a fuckbot.
what is fucking really? Anyway, we can't get stuck on Next Generation. We already had an episode where we talked about the Borg for an entire movie. So
I mean, let's just say we talked specifically about the fuckable Borg.
yeah, the Borg Queen.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And how fuckable the Borg Queen was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Jules is on board.
Yeah.
When she's like lowered into that body thing. Yeah.
Listen, I don't know shit about Star Trek, but I know the Borg Queen.
Yeah.
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 The green tint of your lighting in your sound booth isn't helping.
No, it's helping. Paige.
I'll let her assimilate me, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, they get unpacked. They get kind of moved in, and we kind of cut to they've been there for a couple weeks, and the maid / nanny is leaving.
Yeah.
And
I thought this was so funny, man. This made me laugh so much.
This is so weird. Rachel, the mother's like, hey, can you come on Monday? And she just does not answer her. She's just like, you're lucky married to a doctor. I've never married. And just wanders away. And I was like, so are you gonna be there Monday?
Yeah. No, I mean, she literally says, like, are you going to be there Monday? And then she's like, I wish I had married a doctor. I've never been married. My stomach hurts. Toodaloo. And just like fucks off. Does not respond to her employer about, what she asked. She wasn't even like, I need you here at this time. She was like, can you come in on Monday or whatever?
Just a master class in gaslighting.
Yeah. It was amazing. I mean, the next time we see her, she's taking drastic steps and then a quick fall. But there's clearly something going on in her life outside of her employment,
I was just picturing her filling out like a request off form that was just like, unlucky, never married, stomach hurts, need Monday through Friday off. Just,
wish I could do
how
that.
do I approve this? Is this PTO or is it sick time or what do I do?
Hey, what's your employee number for PeopleSoft? I need your PeopleSoft ID number. Sorry.
Oh, you should feel lucky that you have PeopleSoft. I have Workday where I have to be like, okay, so they requested an absence, and what kind of is it? Flexible time off or rest relaxation time or personal day or sick day or bereavement day, and you have to like scroll through this whole thing. It's a nightmare. Can you tell that I manage people? Yeah, it's all day. Click. So at this point, they're kind of tucking in the little girl, and Judd, the neighbor, has basically said, hey, I'll tell you about that path in a bit and where it goes.
I'll say no for anybody just listening. If you see a path just wandering into the woods, fuck, don't go down that road.
Yeah, don't. It's never anywhere good.
Yeah, and there's not like state parks signage that are like, hey, this is a hike for whatever. I'm not going down your creepy rock-lined path, Satan.
Yeah. Oh, this path? This leads to the fuckatorium. It's just mattresses that grow out of the ground. Like, it's never something like that.
That's a path I might check out, though. That one sounded a little more interesting to my skill set.
Yeah, just a bit. I also, this entire movie, I was like, Judd, just tell him what it does.
Yeah.
Warn him and tell him right away so that they just put up a fence and don't worry about it. But because he like doesn't tell them, but he takes them all to the pet cemetery where the little girl's like, this is really sad. These are all people's dead pets. And he's like, no, this is where like it's a time of rest. And he actually gives like a pretty good explanation to a child grappling for the first time with the limits of mortality.
Yeah.
A little bit better, I would say, than her own father does later, where like there's in this scene, he's like, hey, everything has to die, but then there's no more pain and they get to rest. Great. That's all you need to say. That's simple. But then later she's like, God could take it back, right, Daddy? And he's just like, yeah, I guess. And I'm like, what? Like, I understand that like people have different beliefs, but you just put a wild expectation into that child's brain.
I mean, Lazarus in the Bible, it is, like, I get it. I mean, you can tell your kids whatever, but like.
You think your cat was as cool as Lazarus?
Or Gage. Gage ain't no Lazarus. Come on now.
Gage ain't no Lazarus.
But that is a dangerous thing to tell a child, though. Like, yeah, I mean, like, I guess if you like don't touch yourself at night for a while, maybe God will bring back your cat. I don't know. She's probably way too young for that. But like,
no, but that was the vibe it gave of like, if you're good enough, maybe. And I'm like, what? She has no control over that. Like,
so wild.
Don't tell her those things.
Yeah, I mean, if you're good for the next few months and the pet store gets one that looks just like, yes.
Just get another cat. What happened to that?
Fish are easier to match. You can just, check their scales.
Yeah, but a fish wouldn't get hit by a truck as easily. Although there is a fish in the pet cemetery, and I was like, how did it get into the road?
How dare you, Paige? My goldfish, Mr. Scales, was run over by a semi.
I fucking love that your pretend fish was named Mr. Scales. Yeah, he's a lawyer.
Mr. Scales. Esquales.
Esquarius, Paige. He's a fish lawyer.
Esquarius is better.
Fish law.
Yeah, he deals in fish law. Maritime law, if you will.
Thank you.
Now, Horror Virgin has its own anthropomorphized lawyer character. See, Cult Podcast has had Brad Laveau, the gator lawyer. He's a litigator for years. Yeah, litigator.
Oh my God.
For years and years and years.
The team of Gator and Scales, they should start a
Gator
law
and
office.
Scales!
Oh my God.
On land and on sea. If you get injured in a boating accident, call Gator and Scales. Yeah.
We got you.
But yes, definitely send us pictures
A
of
gator lawyer and Mr. Scales Esquarius.
Yeah. God. Anyway, they tucked the cat in with her, and I was instantly jealous that her cat would stay tucked in because my cat not having it.
That shot happened. It cuts away pretty quickly, but that was the total amount of time that cat was still under that blanket. It immediately shot out right away.
Yeah, what you don't see is him just scratching the shit out of that girl. That was the last thing they had to film.
Well, and it was making the like.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, it's a matter of time.
Yeah.
Just as it fades to black.
Yeah. And there's a beautiful cat in this movie.
Yeah, it's so sweet.
But anyway, they decide that they're going to get the cat fixed the next day because, A, you should always fix your pets. It's the responsible thing to do in a society.
Yeah, Bob Barker, tell him.
Yeah. And you've won a treadmill. But also, according to the neighbor, if they get the cat fixed, he's less likely to wander, which means he probably won't go near the road, which I don't know if that's true or not. I've always fixed my pets, so...
You know how you can keep them out of the road? Keep them in the house, guys.
Or a fucking fence.
Yeah.
How about a fence?
Yeah.
Cats can jump, though. I'd be worried about a fence.
Yeah,
but
no, cats do be jumping. Yeah.
Simple solutions are not the horror character a trait.
Yeah, that's true.
That is a very good point.
Yeah, and you know who could have warned them about this? Winston Churchill, their personal injury lawyer.
I hate you so much right now.
Draw me a cat in a suit. Anyway.
I like how we are just using our listeners like Mid-Journey.
Yeah, no, it's honestly, fuck AI. It's way more fun to just shout requests at listeners and see what you get back. That's how I got gold plates.
That's how Joseph Smith got gold plates, too.
That's true.
He said it like it was real, and then it came back to him. He is living the secret, or lived the secret. He died a long time ago.
That's also how I got a drawing of Lizzo holding a severed head one time. And honestly, it fucking slaps. It was great. High marks. So he takes the cat into work, and no sooner does he arrive at work that someone gets hit by a truck, which, like... How many things are on this truck road? But a student gets hit by a truck and he has to rush him into basically the school hospital, and they call the ER, but he's dead on the table.
Oh, yeah. He's messed up. Like, I do love that in this universe, the only way you can die is if you get hit by a truck. Yes. That's why the little girl has no idea what death is.
Yeah. Can I get a pronouncement of time of death from Optimus Prime?
Time of death, 11:52 p.m. Farewell.
Thank you.
Roll out to heaven.
Yes.
Transform into an angel.
Perfect. Anyway, so he's fucked up about it because, like, you know.
Yeah, I mean, he's a doctor. I bet he's lost a patient before. I bet it's always difficult, even if that's like a normal thing, you know? And it does, I mean, he is sort of doing emergency medicine. And I don't know the statistics, but I bet emergency medicine doctors lose more patients just because the nature of that job.
They do. Well, he's at a teaching hospital, so he technically is not usually doing emergency, and it is like dropped in his lap, which is even worse. Because like a teaching hospital, usually people are already dead, where it's like a cadaver or something. Mm-hmm. But he's like, we didn't order this one. Yeah, it's not great.
The DoorDash got it wrong.
Yeah. Donor dash. No.
I asked for already dead, not currently dying.
I know you deliver fresh, but this is ridiculous. Yeah.
I said 30 minutes after death, not before death, guys. Read
well, we're
the comments.
Dominoes, and we don't listen to instructions.
I think it's Dominoes, but yeah.
Dominoes. Anyway, as he's basically checking the pulse and verifying that this person has died, he comes back. The body comes back and it says, the soil of a man's heart is stonier, Lewis. And he's like, how'd you know my name? I'll come to you. How did you know my name? And then he's just like,
and like the maid, never explains anything.
Nope.
But I do love that we, just like in American Werewolf in London, we get this guy throughout the rest of the movie in this like crazy gross makeup.
I love that every time it happens in movies.
Me too. It's great.
I even loved it on Spartacus, where he would see his dead friend Jai Courtney being like, tend to the wound. I was a big fan of that too.
Did they try and pass off Jai Courtney as a Roman name?
Oh, no. Jai Courtney's the actor's name.
Okay. That doesn't sound Roman to me, but I don't know. I wasn't around. I don't know. Oh, you mean from the Tuscany Jai Courtneys?
Yeah. Anyway, so meanwhile, back at his house that night, the ghost appears to him and he's like, yo, we got to take a walk. And he's like, now I'm sleeping. Get out of bed. So they go up to the pet cemetery and he's like, hey, whatever you do, don't climb this giant thing full of sticks and go to the other side where the dead walk.
Oh, no, I gotta.
But like, if that happened, I would move immediately. Although, honestly, if I had 2 small kids and a cat, and that was the nature of the traffic driving down my street, I'd try and move immediately anyway.
Yeah, oh, definitely. But he basically is like, yeah, fine, whatever. Like, I don't even know what you're talking about, creepy ghost. And then he wakes up the next day.
I like how he literally lays down in this, like, quote unquote dream, because he thinks he's dreaming.
Yes.
Like trying to wake up. He is just like a grown man laying down in a cemetery, like trying to wake up. It was so silly to me.
Yeah.
Which normally on this show, people have sex in cemeteries, but they don't sleep there.
No. Cemeteries aren't for sleeping unless it's the eternal sleep.
Yes. It happens a shocking amount. Julian.
Yeah, pretty much every Phantasm movie.
Every Phantasm movie, somebody fucks in a cemetery. Return of the Living Dead.
We should honestly rank cemeteries by their fuckability in these movies.
Honestly, yes. I'm the one in Return of the Living Dead had like those spotlights.
Fuckable. Yeah,
very fuckable.
That's a very fuckable
full
cemetery.
Stage show. Yeah.
Oh, if trash is on tap?
Hell yeah. Anyway, he wakes up and his feet are all muddy because he clearly went on a hike in his sleep. And he's like, oh, I was supposed to rest.
We have to talk about that because he wasn't like, oh, he went for a hike levels of muddy. He was tried to save Artax levels of muddy. Like it was all the way up his legs. Like that is not, that's not a walk.
I mean, some of us are just more extreme about our walks. Not me. Couldn't be me. But he does go to work and get the file on that guy, and it literally opens it as like, that's the guy, and then just tosses it into a trash can behind him.
Yeah.
Never to be seen again.
Some orderly or nurse or whatever took 15 minutes pulling that dude's file, making the copies, putting it in a folder, and he just like, yes, confirmed my hunch, thrown away.
Bye.
That's all I needed to know.
Anyway, we cut back to the house a few months later because now it's Thanksgiving and his family is going home for the holiday to his wife's parents, who, controversial opinion, the villains of the film.
Oh, when he does not murder his father-in-law at the funeral, I was shocked.
There'd be two funerals that day if it was my kid's funeral.
And he punches him at his own child's. And I get that, like, it is sort of the dad's oopsie that his kid is dead. Like, but also,
there's no way he could have said it was an accident.
Yeah, but fully an accident. Yes, that's what I was trying to get at. There was no ill intent, no malice.
Yes.
None of that. It was truly a horrific accident. And if that happened to me and you punched me and like was like blaming me, I would have like lost my fucking mind.
Yeah, that's where you like break off a shard of the coffin and stab people with it. Like it's, he knocks the coffin over and the baby's body falls out. I was like, oh, you're going to die today. Like, this is crazy.
I hear they did that just to get on Corncob TV's new show, Coffin Flop. And I would watch a Coffin Flop baby edition. I know that sounds terrible.
You let him walk into the street. I didn't do shit. I didn't do fucking shit.
Call now. Save Corncob TV.
Yeah. Honestly, for the 8 of you who get that joke, you're my favorite listeners.
They said that to me at a dinner. Oh, God. Anyway, they go away. The house is pretty quiet, but he gets a phone call from Judd across the street who's like, hey, yo, I think your kid's going to be mad because your cat's hella dead. It's on my lawn.
Yeah.
Please come remove it from my lawn.
Yeah.
And that cat is dead, like so dead.
Yeah.
And they explain it as like the frost had come and the cat was almost frozen into the lawn. Like it had been there for a while.
Yeah.
Because he picks it up and it's like, he has to like Velcro it off the lawn. It's tough to watch. Sure.
Yeah. I hated all of the death in this movie.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I had a friend who hit like a dog just ran into the road in front of her car.
And I get that, like, most of those things when a dog gets hit or a cat gets hit, those are all accidents. Like that, you're not meaning to do that, but that is such a devastating thing.
I'll say this.
God.
This is not going to put me in a good light. But there was one time me and my dad we're driving home. It's like middle of the day. We're driving and we see a rabbit like scurry out onto the street. And I try to like jerk a little bit to get like, just to get out of the way. Rabbit kind of moves in a direction where I can't see it.
No.
And we clearly run it over.
Oh, no.
Me and my dad, we're there. We're like, oh, we look at each other. Then we just start laughing.
Oh, what can you do at that point?
There's
like,
nothing you can do. We're just like,
no.
Oh, well.
At least it was probably a wild rabbit and probably not a pet.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Oh, there was a little girl who was like, Fluffy.
Oh, no.
No. Don't worry. Dead's not always better.
Yeah.
It's true.
Anyway. He's like, so what you gonna do with that dead cat? In a way that makes me feel like we shouldn't tell him where the dead cat is. But he's like, we could do something weird with it. And he's like, all right.
It's always a great.
I'm definitely not going to take my dead pet with my weird neighbor to a second location.
Yeah.
That seems like a weird ask, old man Jeb.
Yeah. So they go to the pet cemetery and then the additional hike over the sticks and whatever down the rocks to a series of circles that he claims is a Micmac tribal burial ground because this movie be appropriated.
Which is wild that nobody else knows about this thing.
Right.
I get that they're not in the era of social media, but a plane would have clearly seen this thing and been like,
yes,
yo, call the news. Look at that thing.
Yeah, a bunch of circles.
Yeah, well, and there was like the rock art that is like, I forget what continent it's on even. I can't even remember. But like when planes became a thing, we found those almost immediately because it was like clear that like, I can't even remember who it was, but like old civilizations made huge things of like rock art, and you totally would have seen this huge structure from a plane flying over.
Yeah,
100%.
and it's kept the History Channel in business to this day.
Yeah.
So like
there's no way there isn't the Ancient Aliens guy on this mountaintop like aliens.
Yeah. Look, if you want to keep Paige entertained at 2 a.m. when she is drizzling hot honey over some sort of like frozen pizza, that's what
that
you
sounds
need.
amazing.
You need the guy from Skinwalker Ranch that seems like he's kind of a scientist to be like, we found a giant man on top of the mesa. Like, that's what you need. So thank you. Anyway, he instructs him to bury the cat in the soil. And as he does, he says, man's soil is rockier, basically the same thing that the body said.
Yeah.
He has a moment of like, what did that guy say in the dream? Nah, fuck it. I'm burying this cat. So he buries the cat.
I do love how Jeb makes up the whole story that you have to do it because the owner has to do it or whatever, just so he can smoke instead of helping him.
Right. When it's bound to you.
I mean, yeah, it is bound to you, Paige. You're right. But I think that is all fully just made up because Jeb's lazy and he's just hiked. He's also an old man, but like he's hiked up a mountain.
What I would like after this is those memes where it's like, Moon, my dad said we didn't even want a cat. And then the cat's all curled on his chest, but it's an evil cat.
Yellow glowing eyes. Like,
yes. But they come home and he's like, hey, don't tell anyone else that we did this. And I was like, wait, what did we do?
Because we just buried my dead cat, but you said something to me that like makes more sense in like a Brokeback Mountain type situation.
Yes. I mean, hey, both burying things, but like,
Yeah.
But he runs in to answer the phone. And instead of telling them what's happening, he just says, you know what? I haven't seen the cat, but I'll see him later. And she says, kiss him for me. And he goes, yeah, kiss your own cat. Ha ha ha. Hangs up.
Yeah.
The next day he's raking the leaves and he goes down into the basement and the cat is there hissing, angry.
Yeah.
Worst case cat scenario.
Yeah.
He's being real catty is what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cats are already assholes. He seems different of an asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been trying to think of a good way to describe this to talk about it on stage. But I feel like my cat has his own agenda that he just doesn't let us in on.
Yeah. I think most cats are that way.
Yeah. He's like, I've got cat stuff to do.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what you're doing, but I'm over here throwing this pretzel toy against the wall enough times until it does what I want.
Yeah. But in 15 minutes, I've got to literally tear up all your curtains. So I've got a busy morning.
Yeah.
I could pencil you in for later, but then I've got to run around the room as if I'm chasing something, but nothing's there. And then I'm going to stare at the wall like there's a ghost.
But I'm going to have to push our next meeting because I found a sunspot, and that's going to set me out about 45 to 55 minutes. Yeah.
Now I got to rearrange all my meetings.
Yeah.
Claire, can you bring my planner?
Yeah. Anyway, so the cat's there. He brings food and picks him up and kind of looks at the injuries from the truck, which are still kind of there, but the cat's fully alive.
Yeah.
And he's got plastic from the garbage bag that they buried him in his teeth. And he's like, oh my God, he chewed his way out. And we cut to Judd's house where he's like, yeah, I kept telling myself that I accidentally buried him alive, but like that cat was fucking dead.
Yeah,
like
he was.
It was a super dead cat. And Judd's like, yeah, about that place where we buried him, things come back a little different.
Which you would think you would tell them that, like on your 45-minute hike up a hill. You know what I'm saying? Like, why are we doing this? We passed the pet cemetery. This was a pet.
Yeah, it might come back murderous, just to let you know.
And also, for a movie called Pet Sematary, we spend very little time at the actual pet cemetery.
Yeah.
And only one pet is raised from the dead.
Yeah.
Well, and they don't use the pet cemetery, really. They use the burial ground on top of the hill. That's
like 5 miles
the
away.
Pet cemetery. Yeah.
Yeah. So he tells him the story of when someone took him up there to bury his dog and that his dog came back pretty fucked up, but then they just let the dog live until it died again, and then he buried it there. So I don't know how they made that happen, but
I thought we were going to get like an Old Yeller type moment where he had to kill the dog, but we didn't see it at least.
We didn't see it, and I would have assumed that would have been the case.
Yeah.
But instead he's like, and when he died eventually a second time, I was like, wait, did they just like live out the rest of their life with a dog in their house? Like,
I know, right? Like, sometimes better is dead, or dead is better, whatever it is.
Dead is better.
Yeah.
Dead is better.
So he asks, he's like, so wait, why did you have me make my cat murderous? He's like, your kid wasn't ready to lose her favorite pet. And I was like, okay, but like, so it happens though. Like, as the mummy says, death is only the beginning of the conversation about mortality.
Yes. Yeah, there you go. Absolutely. Yeah.
That we all need to have with our children. But he asks,
that classic mummy line.
Yeah. Death is only the beginning of talking to your kids about death.
Yeah.
But he asks, hey, has anyone ever buried a person up there? And he's like, no, who would ever do that? And I was like, it seems pretty obvious that someone would do that.
I like that was his reaction when he has a Paige saved a child's life level story in his pocket about someone doing exactly that.
Yeah.
Right.
How the father wasn't immediately like, hey, Judd, that was a pretty strong reaction.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate?
Yeah.
No.
No, of course not.
Maybe we should talk more about that, Jeb. It sounds like there's some trauma around that.
Why are your eyes shifting back and forth? No reason. Just move along.
Why do you have burns on your arm from when you probably burned down a house?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One could also make the point that this is also why the just say no campaign didn't work. You can elaborate. Why should we say no? No, just say no. Well, I'm gonna do some research on this.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck Nancy Reagan. Then.
Yeah, exactly.
Throat goat trying to keep us down.
Yeah.
Damn throat goat.
So we cut to the bathroom in the house, and he's trying to take a bath, and a dead rat drops into the water, a present from his demon cat.
Oof.
And the cat is freaked out because he doesn't like his gift.
But in all fairness, a dead rat would have also been a gift from an alive cat.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I was like, he's just a cat being a cat. It was on his agenda for 6 p.m.
In defense of the demon cat.
Yeah. I mean, what cats aren't demons, right? So like,
True.
Yeah.
Cats are like where dogs are like fur children, cats are like Victorian adopted children.
But like haunted Victorian adopted children. Yes.
Yeah.
I picture them like roommates. Like dogs are fur children, cats are fur roommates, where you're just like, did you eat all my food out of the fridge? Like that level of like, did you squeegee the shower? No, like it looks gross. Who left this turd in the toilet? Like that, yeah.
Who knows?
I don't know.
I'm just a cat.
Also, the rent's gonna be late.
Yeah, because I don't pay it.
Yes.
I don't know if you know this, but I'm very much going through a meow phase.
Instead of leaving their clothes everywhere, it's their hair everywhere. But we cut to the family coming home, to the cat, who seems completely normal around the little girl, which I think is really funny.
Yeah.
But does smell bad.
Yeah.
So she's like, we got to get him groomed or whatever. It's bad. As this is happening, their maid, nanny, laundry lady hybrid writes a note that just says, I cannot stand the pain. Sorry. And then unfortunately dies by suicide. But I had questions.
Yeah.
And maybe, and so I tried to find some of this in fun facts. I might stumble upon it as I look more. This must have been something in the book where it made me wonder if her stomach pain was somehow tied to what was going on.
Oh,
yeah, I
okay.
think that's the unfortunateness of like a lot of Stephen King adaptations is that there's so much material in each book that there's a lot of stuff that gets thrown to the wayside. Like a big reason why he didn't like Stanley Kubrick's Shining is because it was very different from the book version.
Yeah.
But only because he made it as a movie first. And then when they made the made for TV movie, it was a little wacky.
Yeah, it's well, so I did just pull this up. According to the book, she has stomach cancer.
I almost said like it may just be like she's dealing with stomach cancer and like just is in so much pain she's like looking for a way out.
Yeah.
It's sad and terrible, but like healthcare in America is awful. So like maybe that's the better option. I don't know.
You either have money to get better or you go on the road and get hit by a truck. The only two options.
Yep.
I found a little bit more information. So in the book, Judd's wife is the one who passes away in this same way. So she's meant to kind of replace, which makes a little bit more sense as Judd's wife would probably be older.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that kind of explains it. But anyway, they are very upset, obviously, by her loss. And this is where we get information from the mom, Rachel, who seems particularly upset. And she gives us kind of the whole story about her sister Zelda, which is a wild side quest in this film.
It is. I do completely understand why it's in the film. Like, thematically, it's about her grief trauma, but like it is pretty wild. The way Zelda looks is very creepy. Like, I did not like it.
Yeah, well, and Zelda supposedly has spinal meningitis. However, spinal meningitis, while there are chronic forms of it, and you can end up having it for years and it could eventually kill you, all that's true. More often than not, people die within like a couple days if they don't get treatment. Like, it's usually something that just like snap kills you. And the only reason I know is because one of my classmates got spinal meningitis in high school and had to have a spinal tap and they caught it within days, but he was in the hospital for like a week, like inverted. It was messed up. And then they made us all get meningitis, meningococcal virus vaccines, like after it happened. So like I got vaccinated against it because they were like, yeah, did you hear about Anthony? His back got fucked up. I was like, damn, all right, shit. Anyway, she looks more like she, A, has been starving, and B, has extreme scoliosis, and C, might be played by Ted Raimi in a mask. Like, all of those things at once. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
But we get a crazy flashback, and we find out that her parents left Rachel, who was only 8 at the time, alone with her sister who needed constant medical care.
Yeah.
And her sister passed away. That's way too much to put on a kid.
Yes. Especially when they're rich as shit, Paige. You saw that house. They had a 6-foot painting of the oldest 4-year-old I've ever seen with a top hat.
Yes.
Did you see that painting in that room? It's crazy.
I did. Well, that's what Gage looks like later.
I know.
When
it's
he
insane.
appears to her. Yeah. But it's also like, this is our second indication that her family is fucking the worst and they're the villains.
Yeah.
Like, the first was when he doesn't want to go home for Thanksgiving because he thinks that the family hates him. Yeah. Which is like, that's brutal.
He's a doctor. They hit the husband-in-law jackpot.
I could not figure out why they didn't like him. It didn't make any sense.
Could have been a lawyer.
It could have been a lawyer.
They keep trying to introduce his wife to Mr. Scales Asquarius.
But then the second one is that, like, at least in this recollection, they left one of their daughters to die and left their younger daughter to be traumatized by that death.
Yeah.
And then didn't do anything about it. But so she died. They have a rough time with it.
Yeah.
And her husband gives her a Valium and is just like, you're going to sleep now. Good night. Bye. I'm not a psychiatrist.
Yeah.
So here's a pill.
It was the 80s.
It was the 80s.
Yeah.
We cut to the next day where they are out flying the kite. This is the perfect day. And of course, Gage with the kite wanders out in front of Optimus Prime.
Oh, man. Everyone knows what happens. And he gets crushed by this guy singing a song about some punk rock chick.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's brutal.
Yeah.
Good
and
news
the truck
is,
flips.
Yeah, I was going to say, the good news is that kid was made of steel of some kind.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
But so we cut back to the house after. They're looking at photos. Everyone is super distraught. And Judd kind of gets the sense of like, hey, I can see it in your eyes that you are considering burying that kid over there. And I'm going to tell you not to fucking do it.
Yeah.
So we cut to the funeral. And this is where her dad accuses him of killing the kid, knocks over the casket.
And punches him.
And punches him in the fucking face.
You would never talk to him again, ever. Ever.
Yeah, ever.
In the grandpa's defense, the dad was not paying attention to the literal baby.
Yeah, I mean,
look away for like a 10 seconds, but like he was looking away for a few minutes, and Judd had to be like, he had the whole cartoon like,
run. Anyway, after the funeral, Judd's like, hey, again, I know that you're thinking of burying this kid. Here's what happened. when we buried this guy after World War II. He basically came back a zombie. Like, who'd have thought?
Yeah, and then the women folk had to gather the men folk to kill him. That's literally what he says, more or less.
We burned the house down around him and his dad, and they both died. So, like, do you want me to burn your house down, basically? But this is where we get the famous line, sometimes dead is better.
Yeah.
Dead is better.
And he does say this weird thing that doesn't super connect, where it's like, because I introduced you to that place, the power of it made him die, which does not make a ton of sense, but is definitely a Stephen Kingism of like, the power can do all of these things. And it's like, dude, stick to one, pick one, editing.
But also, Jeb's not from the tribe that had this as a part of their burial rituals. He doesn't know. He's just making shit up because of whatever he thinks,
Yeah. Meanwhile, he sends his wife and their daughter to Chicago with the parents that ruined that kid's funeral.
Yeah.
Basically to be like, I'll be there in a couple days. Because what he's doing is just getting them out of the house so he can try and zombify their toddler.
Yeah. And that's essentially what he sets about doing. Like, the fact that he drove to the gravesite with like a shovel and pickaxe during the day, I was like, they should have security, right? Like,
he tries so hard to conjure a tear. I don't know if you guys noticed that. How hard he's like, I miss you, son.
Yeah.
He's trying so hard to have a heartwarming moment, but it is hilariously just him trying to cry.
Jules, when the cops come and like shine their flashlight over what is clearly someone digging up a body,
dug up grave,
and then they drive away, he goes back to digging and laughs. Like, you are
privilege.
digging up yours. I couldn't say it, but yeah, it totally is. Yeah, it totally is. But he goes back about the business of digging up his one day dead son and is like laughing.
Oof.
Insane.
Well, like me and my dad, all you could do is laugh in the face of tragedy.
What are you gonna
do? Yeah.
But he pulls that kid out, and then he's just like, well, if he comes back weird, I'll just put him back to sleep. And I was like, so you'll re-kill your own child?
Yes,
okay,
that's
your
what
plan.
He says. Yeah.
Great.
Good plan.
Good plan. Meanwhile, Ellie's having a nightmare because the ghost has appeared to her and they can't get a hold of Lewis back home. So Rachel's like, I'm getting on a plane, which is like wild that she's like, well, he might just be at the corner store, but I'm going to get on a plane instead.
Yeah.
She gets on a plane. John comes over with beers and he's trying to watch for the house to see when he comes back. Meanwhile, he buries Gage. He comes home. Judd has fallen asleep. He wakes up to what he thinks is him coming home. But in reality, it's Gage walking into the house.
Yeah.
He immediately is like, he can hear Gage and he's like, I've got something for you. And it's a switchblade.
Yes. I love that.
Come on out.
Come out.
I would love to have seen more of a face-off between an infant child and a man who has to be at least 6 foot.
Oh yeah,
fighting a 1 foot top. Oh god, that's the Freddy versus Jason fight we should have had.
Like they're like crossing blades with a pocket knife and a scalpel. Yeah, I'm here for that. It's like the Bad music video with their hands duct taped together.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We cut back together, or we cut back and forth between Rachel on the plane with Pasco the ghost, who is kind of trying to like tell her to go and like it's trying to stop you.
He's spirit guiding her. Yeah, he even bought a ticket for that flight she's on.
Yeah, exactly.
Like literally, he's sitting there on the flight with them.
Business class too. Because he's got unfinished business.
Pushing the button.
Excuse me, Stuart, do you have the other half of my head? I would like that. Do you guys have that?
I was told that you guys had head service and unfinished business class. I checked my legs.
I'm sorry, unfinished business class is an unsung joke that we like skipped over, Paige, but that hit me in a good way. I loved it.
Now I'm just picturing his legs on the like rolling luggage thing. He's just like, check the gate card, yeah, these are my legs.
No, these aren't mine. These aren't mine. I put a red handkerchief on mine. Somebody else's.
Mine is covered in duct tape. She's also having flashbacks to Zelda, taunting her,
Yes.
being like,
Which are wild.
These are the only parts that like actually did sort of freak me out. When she's like, "I'm coming to get you," or whatever. Then she like moves towards the camera, and it's at a very sort of cockeyed and skewed sort of angle.
Like a fisheye lens.
Yes, it's very uncomfortable. It is effectively like not scary, but like, ugh.
It's creepy.
Yeah, creepy. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like that skin crawling, like, oh, I feel uncomfortable.
Yes, absolutely.
Meanwhile, Judd is following the baby around the house.
That's like 20 minutes of him like, is he behind the curtain? No. Oh, is
Under
he
the bed?
Yeah,
In the
on
stove?
the
In the
bed,
washing
no.
machine? Yeah.
That's just the rest of the movie. It's just him. Where are you?
Just the wildest game of sardines. Yeah.
Fade to black, then to be continued pops up.
Yeah.
I mean, eventually he does like get down, I think, to check the bed, and then he like the baby cuts
That's
his
when he
Achilles.
gets his Achilles heel.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, she lands and rents a car, but it blows a tire. And this is where Pasco's like, they're trying to stop you.
Yeah.
So she just wanders into the woods and then comes upon a weird lobster shack where she hitchhikes to the car.
Yeah.
Or to the house.
I love how the rental agent was like, we only have like a real shit car. It's like really shit. And she's like, yeah, I just need it. And she's like,
Yeah.
all right, I guess we'll give you the shit car. Like I was like,
Yeah.
it was
It's
just
got
such a
a
funny
scratch
interaction.
on it.
I know, like it's an emergency. Just give her the damn car.
It was either
Yes.
that or the horse-drawn carriage with the horse for 3 days left of retirement.
Yeah.
And man, when that horse blew a hoof, the audience really felt for it because it was like so close to retirement.
And then it just kept sinking into the quicksand because it
Our
couldn't get out under the power of positive thinking. Yes. Exactly.
And the queen of callbacks, Rampage Wesley.
What's up? She gets to Judd's house and comes upon first evil Church the Cat, but then evil baby Gage in his dapper suit and like top hat and cane.
Yeah.
Starts singing.
Hello, my baby. You are a dead baby. Hello, my dead baby friend. Yeah.
I was gonna say put it on the Ritz, but yeah, that's also good.
Putting on the Ritz would be stabbing up a bitch. So he immediately lunges on her and kills her.
Yes.
Mhm.
So she's dead. Oopsie daisy. Meanwhile, the dad, Lewis, wakes up and sees a bunch of footprints, and he answers the phone because he wakes up to the phone ringing.
I thought it was weird that he didn't immediately be like, oh, I guess that's where Jesus carried me to bed.
Yeah.
How drunk did I get last night?
Well, he tumbles out of bed and almost $1 million babies himself
I know,
on the
I saw
nightstand.
that. I was like, I think he hit his face. Like I bet that
Yeah.
hurt.
It looks like it hurt. But his scalpel's missing, which I was like, I don't think you keep special scalpels anymore. That's like a...
No. They call that a bioburden. You don't want to have that on your surgical instruments.
No. And so he wakes up to the phone. He answers it. Ellie's freaking out because she's having bad dreams because she's psychic, ? And
As is every child in
I
the
was gonna
Stephen
say,
King
yeah.
story.
This is a Stephen King story after
she,
all.
air quotes, shines.
Yes.
So they're like, can you just like put Rachel on the phone? He's like, I can't talk to you right now. Hangs it up. Follows the baby shoe tracks to the basement.
Yeah.
He finds dead Judd and dead Rachel, although dead Rachel pops down from the attic.
Yeah, because she
with
actually
Gage
hung
like,
herself.
ha 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 ha
Yeah.
ha ha. Yeah.
And then Gage jumps at him like a torpedo, Paige. It
Yes.
was insane.
A baby torpedo.
Yes.
And this is after he does inject Church the cat at the front of the house so
yes,
he doesn't
does
attack
kill
him.
the cat. Yeah.
He kills the cat. Super sad.
The opposite of saving the cat.
Yeah.
Yep. And so he's trying to prepare another syringe for Gage, but it's literally hand-to-hand combat with a thing that's like roughly the size of a large purse.
And Gage does fuck up his dad. Like,
Yes.
in a way that is incomprehensible because of their size disparity. Like, it's insane.
Yes.
Again, that's why I want to see that Judd versus Gage battle.
I would watch that in a Gage match.
It's like watching Yoda fight in Attack of the
Yes.
Clones.
Give him the high chair. Yeah. Oh, God. But he does eventually get him with a syringe in the neck.
Yes. And kill him. Yeah. And then set the fucking house on fire.
Well, I did like the Gage was like, no fair, and then just like sits down and dies. I was
Yes.
like, oh my God.
Dude, and he hits his head. Like, the baby hits his head. Like, the little actor baby
Yeah.
hit his head. Like, that looked like it hurt.
It did. Good thing his skull is probably still soft. But
yeah.
so he carries Rachel's body out of the house and he's like, no, this time it'll work. And I'm like, did we not learn our fucking lesson?
No.
Because he buries her, of course, up in the circle. And she comes back real fucked up with like half her skull out, grabs a knife and stabs him.
Yeah.
And that's the movie.
So, Julian, thank you so much for joining us today on the horror version. We really appreciate it. Can you tell people where they can get more of what you do?
Yeah. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Instagram at Julian F Comedy. My website is julianfcomedy.com.
Nice.
I think it's Julian F Comedy for my YouTube channel as well. If you type in Julian Fernandez, you can probably find me. I have a special out on YouTube. Speaking of which,
Nice.
Julian Fernandez 30. If you're listening to this, go check it out. And yeah, go follow me on all my socials because I do have some things in the works and some horror things in the works as well. So perfect people to talk to about that.
Absolutely.
But yeah, thank you guys so much for having me. This was a lot of fun.
We'll have to do this again when you have a little bit more time.
Yes.
Would love to, yeah.
Because would love to dig into some of that horror nerdiness that we talked about before we started recording.
If you guys need a horror recommendation, I got a few.
Well, you should come. We should do one. Like you should.
Yeah.
We should do an episode. Like give it a proper. Like you pick it. We'll do a whole thing. That'd be fun.
Down 100%.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, and thanks for taking the time to be silly with us for an hour and a half or so.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, having seen the movie, having talked about the movie, Paige, what did you think about the original Pet Sematary?
I really liked it, oddly. Like, it's got goofy moments. Like, I think Zelda's pretty goofy, but like most of it, I really enjoyed. And I think for being as old as it is, it holds up.
I think, I say interesting because of what you said about Zelda. Zelda's the part that like actually creeped me out. The rest of the movie is just sad, I think, to me. Because we are really watching someone like, well, actually a few people, because we see it from the mom's perspective too. Like, they're all sort of grappling with this really intense grief. And even the daughter that survives is like, learning about death for the first time. So it's not so like scary. It's more sad. The creepy stuff to me was all the Zelda stuff. Yeah. And it's really just the character who's playing her is really effectively creepy. And the makeup's really creepy. And like, they just really executed that really well. It's just, I don't love the Pet Sematary movies because they're just sad. And like I've had to bury a dog under a tree, like all of those things are like so sad and I don't like to revisit them. So like, I don't typically like this kind of movie.
It does. I think comparing it to Hereditary was spot on. This does feel like Hereditary light.
It does.
A little bit.
This to me is like the okay for kids to watch version of Hereditary because it is not over the top scary. There are scary moments, especially for me, the Zelda stuff was like really creepy, but it's not like Hereditary scary, Yeah,
I think if you took all the scares from this and dialed them up, you get Hereditary, I think is basically what it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we also, in Hereditary, I think, get a little bit more of an explainer as to how it works.
Yes.
Because in a lot of Stephen King stuff, which honestly, it doesn't bother me, but it's like, it is this way. The people who made it that way are long dead. There's no way for us to find out how it works, why it works. It is just that way. And I honestly sort of dig that about Stephen King because ultimately I don't care. I just care about what's driving the story forward,
Yeah.
That is to say, Ari Aster does a great job of incorporating how it works into the story of Hereditary. So it's not like a complaint about Ari Aster. I just don't mind when Stephen King doesn't even go into it.
I'm of two minds about it because I do like the air quotes how it works. I do love that. My logical brain loves that. But I do think if you don't know how it works and it's just a thing that your characters have to deal with in their world, it does allow you to focus more on the more human aspects of what your characters are struggling with, where it just becomes part of the landscape. Where if you think of something like It, like as much as it's about an evil clown that turns into a spider that has to fight a god turtle, like as much as it is about that, it is way more about everything that those kids are going through as kind of a growing pain and how they bond together to get through it. It's about their individual fears and insecurities. And I feel like this is his grief movie, if you want to think of it that way, or his grief story. And I think as a grief story, super effective. Like this made me want to read the book, oddly enough. So I might pick this one up.
And I'm sure the book is great. Yeah. Because obviously Stephen King has been a very successful writer for a long time. Like, I'm sure that dude can write a book and I've never read one of his books.
Yeah.
I've listened to one, when Jen was still on the podcast, she let me borrow Dolores Claiborne, and I listened to that on a road trip. Didn't hate it, like it's fine. I don't really like horror in book form either.
It's hit or miss for me,
Yeah.
but I've been trying to read more of it. I do love sci-fi. I will read the shit out of some scary sci-fi, but I'm trying to read more just straightforward horror.
Yeah.
But I think this I've been reading The Shining, and this is probably a good next one to get into.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Well, Paige, do you have any fun facts for us?
I do.
Well, hit us with your fun facts.
Evil Cat, fun facts.
Yeah.
Stephen King has once said that the only novel he wrote that really scared him was Pet Sematary.
Oh, no shit. Okay.
That this is the one that gets to his personal fears, which I think is really interesting.
I get that because, I think you don't get to be an adult in this world without experiencing some level of loss, like losing a pet or losing a sibling or losing a spouse or whatever, or family member or whatever. And so it makes sense to me that even no matter how that trauma has touched your life, that is one that is so accessible to pretty much everybody.
Yes.
So I get why this would be the one that scared him the most.
Absolutely. So for the role of Zelda, the terminally ill sister, director Mary Lambert, which also, by the way, female-directed horror.
Yes.
Unusual, very well done. I like this a lot.
Yeah.
I have heard that the sequel is fucking bonkers, and so I am kind of excited to eventually get to that on a sequel month. But Mary Lambert wanted Zelda's scenes to frighten the audience, but in the book, Zelda was a 13-year-old girl, and she didn't think that just casting a 13-year-old girl was scary enough. So she actually cast a man named Andrew Hubatsek to be in extensive physical makeup to play Zelda and to depict that there was something a little off about Zelda without immediately identifying what it is.
Interesting. Okay. I mean, I just thought it was all the makeup. The makeup is really effectively
There's
creepy.
a lot of makeup, yeah. But that's part of why.
Sure, yeah.
In the book, Judd actually mentions that a dog that went wild in a nearby town killed several people. This is actually a reference to the events of Cujo, which came out in 1983.
Okay.
But is also another novel by Stephen King and was one of the ones that we considered doing this month, and we picked other things for other reasons.
But it is it's one of the most famous ones for sure.
Super famous.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I know of it. It's that level of famous.
Of course. Yeah. That's actually really common in Stephen King books for people, for A, the universes to be interconnected,
sure,
but also B, for characters to reference things that happened in other books because they are all set nearby. Case in point, this is set in Maine, as almost all of them are, and they actually shot it on location in the town where it was set in the novel. So that's kind of fun.
That is kind of cool.
That's really unusual. That doesn't often happen.
Yeah, absolutely. That's cool, though.
Now, the original screenplay featured a Wendigo, which is a Native American mythological creature, and it was mentioned in the novel but ultimately cut from the film.
Okay.
But its presence is actually implied in the film. First, in the scene where Lewis is walking through the woods at night, he hears something large knock down a tree.
Yeah.
Second, when Judd first takes Lewis up to the burial ground, there is a large crash with a long howl, and Judd says it's only a loon, but it's very clear that he doesn't believe it himself, and it is not a loon. So in the original script, that would have been a Wendigo. I do think that potentially, and again, I'd have to read the book, there might be more tying that creature to that area, and that's part of why the soil is soured. If you're familiar with some of the mythology surrounding Wendigos, it is often tied to hunger. It's like a hunger myth, and it's usually a person who has then eaten another person or killed another person becomes that creature. So it's like the physical embodiment of extreme hunger.
Interesting.
Which makes sense because everyone that we see come back from that area often eats people. Now, again, that's only one version of it. There are many, and there are other films that have attempted to cover it. However, some of that tribal mythology is very closely guarded, and is not often shared with people outside those tribes. So we don't fully know or understand all of those mythologies. So, but it's one that fascinates me personally.
It sounds like it. And it is cool. Like, I don't even know if you'd call it like a cryptid or...
Yes, it's a cryptid.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know a lot of cultures have cryptid type myths that are supernatural, not just like Bigfoot, like actual supernatural cryptid type myths. I don't really know a lot about them, but I think they're fascinating.
Yeah, I'm also always fascinated by where a cryptid gets its roots. Like,
how do they stay blonde all the time?
All the time. It's a 2-step process where we're going to do highlights and lowlights. But I'm always fascinated by looking at a group of people at a time and a place and why they have the cryptid they do. Yeah. Because I think usually a cryptid like that represents something about the society. So it's almost like, okay, if we have a mythology about something that is hungry and eats people and disrupts the community, that makes a lot of sense for a group of people that were living off the land, raising their own food, but also relied heavily on a communal society where everyone had to do their part and you had to all work together. So that would be a scary dichotomy to them. If you look at something like Mothman, it's very kind of linked to like Cold War mythology, which really is kind of close into like when it was spotted and the things that they look at.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite parts of cryptids is just like, why? Yeah. Why did it happen? Yeah. Now, according to the director, to just completely change gears, because we have, fun facts, but we got time. According to Mary Lambert, one of the hardest things on this shoot was to get the cat to eat the pork chop.
I was going to say, like, I don't think I've ever seen a cat eat red meat like that.
Yeah. And to be honest, they often don't. They have trouble breaking it down if it's not like a fresh kill.
Yeah.
And so, like, it's rare that I've seen cats just eat meat.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that the wild cats, do, because they have to hunt and trap and whatever is around them. But I've just never seen it myself. So, like, yeah.
Yeah. We did feed my cat shrimp one time, and he was all about that. He loves shrimp. But, we don't have unseasoned raw shrimp around all that much.
I can't imagine so, yeah.
No. Anyway, Stephen King was on location for most of the film because it was only 20 minutes away from his home in Bangor, Maine.
Oh, that's awesome. I also love that he is the pastor doing the funeral services.
Yes.
And he has one line, but he nails it. He does a very convincing preacher or whatever denomination it was.
He nails it. I love that he is the amount of famous that he can live wherever the fuck he wants.
Of course
That's the
is.
dream.
And also the type of creator he was very internal, and he does it himself. He could do that anywhere, literally. So like, why move? Yeah.
Yeah. I dream of that someday.
That's one of the reasons I want to go full time doing this.
I know. You can live wherever.
Yeah. If you think I'm going to live in the U.S. every day out of the year, you're crazy. I want to be like, I'm going to go to Scotland for a month. I'll record at like crazy times. Or I want to go to Japan for a month. I'll just record at 4 a.m. with you guys when you can or whatever, Like that would be, that's my ideal life right there.
Yeah, I don't know that I would go for that long, but like I've got a lot of international travel for the next year and a half on the docket.
That's awesome, man. I'm so jealous. I love international travel.
Now, granted, it is all like I am there performing, which kind of regiments your travel. It is also work, but like it's cool to be like, I got to do comedy all over the world.
Yeah.
I'm that asshole. Anyway.
I just can't wait till we can annoy Mikey with all the places we've gone.
Yeah. So the original cut of the film was judged to be too long. So they had to cut it down. But they also decided that the closing scene was too tame and it was reshot to be more graphic with her makeup and everything.
Okay. Her makeup is real gross. Like as they're making out, her eye is like oozing. It's super gross.
Well, so the actor, speaking of super gross, the actor Brad Greenquist, who played Victor Pascow, was in his makeup the whole time and no one would sit near him when they were having lunch.
Of course
when
not.
He was wearing the makeup, which is great.
Well, I mean, you have to eat and you don't want to look at this guy with like his head missing. Like, ugh. Yeah, I get that. Sorry, Pascal.
Stephen King is a big Ramones fan and referenced a bunch of their songs in the novel. So in return, the Ramones wrote and performed the theme song that plays over the credits, which, by the way, is tonally completely wrong, but kind of a bop. So we're going to go with it. Like
that is like their sweet spot, though, because like they couldn't sing or whatever, but it's not about that, you know?
Oh, I just meant like tone for the movie. Like we're just like, what a sad meditation on grief, and it's like 24 hours ago, and you're like,
I want to kill a child. Yeah, I mean it's a weird vibe for sure.
It's a weird vibe.
Like I guess we should have known that trucker was going to run over Gage, right? Like he was singing about it the whole time.
Well, he was listening to Sheena is a Punk Rocker, which is another Ramones song.
Yeah, I recognize that one.
Yeah.
Well, and I also recognize the one in the end credits. Like I've heard it before, and I'm not a huge Ramones fan. Like they're fine, but like I'm not like I celebrate their entire catalog. Like I just listen to the ones that are on the radio.
Hey, we shouldn't celebrate anyone's entire catalog.
No.
Like the closest I get is Elton John, and even some of those I'm like, we could skip this later stuff maybe.
I don't know, but Crocodile Rock is a
fucking slaps. Fucking slaps.
Yeah.
So this was Mary Lambert's second feature film. She was actually better known for music videos. So she directed a bunch of videos for Madonna. She directed Material Girl and Like a Prayer, which ultimately, like, those are two of the most famous Madonna videos.
They like made her career. They like made her an MTV darling.
The only way you could potentially get more famous is to be like also like a virgin. Like she's got like two of the three.
Yeah.
She was also friends with the Ramones, and she approached them about that collaboration, which is part of how everything kind of came together.
Okay.
Now, the actor who played Lewis was not the first choice. Do you know who the first choice was?
No. Who?
Bruce Campbell.
Oh, son of a bitch. I want that so bad. The guy who plays him is fine, but Bruce Campbell? Oh.
That would have been amazing, right? It would have been a little goofier, but I would have been here for it.
It would have fit tonally more than the Ramones. But yeah, no, that would have been amazing. I love Bruce.
Yeah, it would have been great. Twin actresses played the role of Ellie. However, Blaze, one of the two twins, Blaze and Bo, Blaze was mainly credited for the role, while Bo is credited as Ellie Creed 2.
Okay.
Blaze did a lot more of the dialogue, and Mary Lambert at one point was trying to get her to cry on cue for a scene and suggested that she think back on something that was very sad, and the girl couldn't think of anything.
Aww.
So instead, she offered her more money if she would cry, and she cried. This is why child acting is super dark.
Also, it's essentially why unions work too.
Yeah.
But how old was she?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, she young.
Yeah. But that's funny that you were like, make her cry and we'll give her more money.
Yeah, like, please cry. And she's just like, actually, I'm going to need you to add an addendum to my contract for me to cry.
You're 4.5 years old. She's like, almost 5.
Yeah, and you know what? If I want to retire by 23, then I'm going to need to start demanding this money. Now, Stephen King did write the screenplay, at least the first version of it.
Sure.
And he required that it be filmed in Maine and that his screenplay be followed rigorously and that he do any edits. Now, sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad with adaptations, but I think this one is actually pretty successful.
Yeah, I mean, I think they did a good job. I haven't read the book, but the movie's good.
Yeah. Originally, Pet Sematary, the novel, almost never got published.
Really?
It was only when his wife Tabitha was cleaning out shelves, found it, and read it that she convinced him to publish it.
What? That's awesome.
Yes. Originally, George A. Romero was supposed to direct this film, but he dropped out and Mary Lambert stepped in. And instead, George Romero directed Monkey Shines, which, by the way, is fucking nuts.
I've not seen Monkey Shines, but I have heard the How Did This Get Made episode on it. So I'm sure it's insane.
We will do it someday because I think it is technically a horror movie. Anyway, Paramount wanted twins to play the role of Gage, much like the role of Ellie.
Sure.
However, Miko Hughes was very impressive and she felt like he was a natural talent despite being so young. So they lobbied the studio to allow that to happen, but that meant that they could only film with him for very short periods of time at a time, which is also why even though Gage is a big figure in the film, he's only really on camera for maybe 5 to 10 minutes total.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of like doll hand with scalpel because they literally could not use him for more than a couple hours at a time.
Yeah.
7 blue British short hair cats were used to play church. And each of them were trained to do specific actions for camera.
Yeah.
This is very similar to if you ever saw the movie Keanu.
Yeah.
Multiple
I love that
cats.
movie, actually.
It's so good.
So good. It's like an unsung Key and Peele movie, but it's really worth checking out.
Most of them, 7, they usually train each cat to do one action because cats are notoriously difficult to train.
Yes.
The cats don't give a fuck. And no cats were harmed during filming. But they trained 1 to jump, 1 to snarl, and 1 to cuddle. But they ended up using at least 7, but also they had 2 more on hand that they didn't end up putting on camera.
Okay,
so
cool.
they had 9 cats total.
They had 9 cats, 1 for each life.
Yes. Mary Lambert said that Fred Gwynne was her first and only choice for the role of Judd, and he does a phenomenal job in this movie.
Yes.
Like, that is absolutely the right choice.
Yes.
So Miko Hughes, who played Gage, was only a little over 2 years old during production.
Wow.
So just shy, he was 33 months by the time they wrapped, which is 3 months shy of 3. So, yeah.
That's crazy.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay.
Yep. Fred Gwynne's hair was actually black, so he dyed it white on a regular basis for the role of Judd.
Wow. Okay.
Some dudes just keep their hair. Like my husband's grandfather, who passed away right around the time we got married, that dude had like a full ass head of hair, like an old dude with just so much hair. It was
and it wasn't white. It was like black.
It was white, but like full, as if he'd never lost a single hair, which was bonkers
That's
to me.
wild. That's great, though. I mean...
Yeah. The cat's glowing eyes were done as an in-camera effect because cats, as it turns out, have reflective lenses,
Very reflective
right?
eyes, yeah.
And so when they could angle the camera and lighting correctly, they were able to make that appear on camera without having to do any post-production on it.
That's amazing, because those cat's eyes do look impressively glowy.
Yes.
And that they have to have, like, done that with just like very specific lighting and using the reflection of the eyes. That's nuts.
Yes. When Rachel hitches a ride with the trucker, his number is 666 on the truck.
No shit. Okay. I missed that.
Yep. Mary Lambert has commented on the creepy painting, the one of the child.
It is very creepy.
And she said paintings like that are a big part of early American portraiture because there was such a high mortality rate among infants.
Yeah.
They didn't have photography. So a lot of people had portraits painted of their children after they died so they could remember them.
Shit,
and
I didn't think about that.
I know. And since so many died between 2 or 3, those paintings are very, very plentiful, but also very frightening because you know that they're always dead.
Yeah.
Now, she directed the film. I'm very glad she did. I think she did a great job. They had considered another director apart from George Romero. When George Romero initially said no, they went to somebody else and then eventually went to Mary Lambert. Do you have any guesses who that person was?
Oh, who was doing stuff at this? Like Spielberg, maybe? Like, who was doing stuff at this time?
So I will let you in on a little bit of a clue. This person had never directed before and worked in a different part of production, but ultimately directs his directorial debut about 3 to 4 years after this in a remake of Night of the Living Dead.
I have no idea.
It's Tom Savini.
Oh, really? They were going to let Savini do this?
They were going to let Tom Savini direct. And those are your fun facts.
Well, think of those fun facts. I would have watched Tom Savini direct it. That would have been cool. All right, cool. Anyway, thank you for those fun facts, Paige. Let's talk a little bit about box office. So what do you think the production budget was for Pet Sematary in 1989 when it came out?
Now, this is 89, and it is Stephen King. And by this point, we've already had It, The Shining, Maximum Overdrive.
I think you said Cujo was 83.
Cujo was 83.
Yeah.
So at this point, people know that Stephen King is a money maker. So I'm going to say that they probably had a budget of about $20 million for this.
Okay, so you're a little high. It was 11.5, but if you adjust for inflation, so if you had to spend that money today, more or less, it's $28.2 million.
Okay.
I think your reasoning was like very logical, and like you gave the number for like today's numbers.
Well, 11, it looks great for 11,
It does.
but also
Yeah.
11 at the time, they probably lucked out on locations.
Probably.
Is probably a lot of it.
Yeah, and there aren't a lot of locations. Like, it's mainly at the house and sort of the compound that land is on. Anyway, so this movie came out on April 21st, 1989. It was number 1 the weekend it came out. It beat the number 2 movie was Major League. Number 3 was a movie we've done on Romance in the Pod, Say Anything. Number 4 was The Dream Team, and number 5 was Rain Man. What do you think Pet Sematary made in its opening weekend?
Opening weekend, I'm going to say $4 million.
Paige, it did so much better. It did $12
I'm glad.
million
I'm happy.
its opening
That's
weekend.
Great.
Yeah, it is great. To make back its budget in its first week is great. It was also number 1 the next weekend, although it didn't make quite as much money, but still was the best movie that weekend, however. And its third week, it was the second movie. Fourth week, it was the fourth movie, and then its fifth week, it was the fifth movie in the theaters that weekend, and then slowly trickled out. But that's really good stay power. To be in the top 5 for your first 5 weekends, that's a lot. So what do you think it made in its total 9-week run in 1989?
So if it opened at 12, I'm going to say it finishes at 50.
Paige, that's a very good guess. It was $57.4 million. And again,
I almost said 60, damn it.
Oh, yeah, that would have been closer, but you're still very, very close.
Thank you.
But again, that's 1989. So that's, if you adjust that for inflation, $140.9 million domestically. Now, it didn't really get an international release, so let's just call that worldwide. But this movie made tons of money, even in just the theaters. But it's, of course, made tons of money in VHS and DVD and streaming and all that stuff. Like, I paid to run it tonight. So like, it's definitely made quite a bit of money.
Absolutely.
But that is your box office. So we should probably hit him with that scary scale, which is our scale of 1 to 10 of how scary we found the film. Not quality necessarily, but how scary we found the film. And for you and I, it was our first time watching it. So
it's our first time.
10 being Texas Chainsaw Massacre or Hereditary, 1 being Ghostbusters. What would you give it on the scary scale, Paige?
I'm actually going to put this at about a 3.
Oh, no shit. Okay. You're going to rate it higher than me. Yeah.
Because I felt like, and I watched it in the middle of the day with the lights on and everything, but I was like, you know what, seeing this for the first time in a movie theater, especially the early times where like the cat's creeping in and the ghost is there. Yeah, it's kind of eerie, and the grief elements of it give me a bit of a Hereditary vibe, but I really liked it. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a good movie. It's funny when it needs to be funny. It's like sort of campy funny is what I mean. Yeah. But it's also like sad and creepy when it needs to be creepy. It's a well done movie. I'm going to give it a 2 though. I didn't find it super scary, but the Zelda stuff is very creepy to me. So I didn't want to give it a 1.
Yeah. Well, and for me, creeping dread is my type of scare.
Yeah, so for me, it's more like jump scares. So like what scares us is different, which I think is interesting.
Yeah, because jump scares, I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like, maybe it pops out, but I'm like, haha, great.
Yeah.
Creeping dread, I'm like, ooh. But that's also like I know I rated Deborah Logan a 9. That's probably my 10 when I think about it. But that is all creeping dread and personal grief. So
exactly. Well, that's why Hereditary
that's exactly
is my 10.
what it is.
Yeah. It's that personal trauma like that ties me to Hereditary that like makes me really get triggered by that movie. So this week we watched Pet Sematary, the original Pet Sematary. What are we watching next week?
So next week, Mikey's finally back.
Yes.
And we have the results from the listener requests. We're going to be watching The Mist, or rather rewatching The Mist, because Mikey and I were not here for the original one. So it will be a revisited episode of The Mist.
Yes.
Again, the original episode's not going anywhere. We're just doing it again.
Yeah, largely because it's almost a completely different show now.
Yeah.
Because we have 2 new hosts, right? So
correct.
For you guys, it won't be a revisited. I'm the only one that's going to have to watch it again for the show.
Oh, well.
So your homework for next week is to watch The Mist and then enjoy that revisited episode, which I know the listeners really enjoy because the last time we did Revisited Month, some of those are like our most well-listened to episodes for some reason.
Yeah, isn't Hereditary Revisited the top episode download-wise?
Yeah, it is. And also in the top 5 is The Exorcist Revisited and Cabin in the Woods. So 3 of the top 5 are revisited episodes.
God, Exorcist, man. That movie fucking slaps. I was surprised how much I liked that movie.
Yeah, I can't believe it was the first time you saw it, really.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Anyway, so your homework is to watch
The Mist.
With the Punisher.
Oh, Thomas Jane.
Yeah. So I think maybe I should read a review, maybe.
Please do. I make it a point not to read reviews in general.
Yeah. Here's a 5-star review from David Plummer, Paige, and I bet you'll be able to guess what episode they listened to before they left this review because it's entitled, What a Toot.
Having a toot.
Oh, man. I have gotten so many DMs that are like, Todd, that was what people did. Like, that was them doing cocaine in the 80s. I was like, I don't know. I wasn't alive. Like, I don't know. What are we talking about?
I've never done cocaine in the 80s or now. So, like, I can't really help you with this.
Yeah, I don't do cocaine. I just like the way it smells, Mom. So, David Plummer has this to say. I've listened to approximately 1 million episodes of movie discussion podcasts, so it takes something really good to catch my interest.
Aww.
I like this review. I only heard of this show a few weeks ago, and it's already my favorite. It's already my favorite. I've been listening to it every day. That might be too much, David. The hosts have a great dynamic. They're always funny and often provide good insights. That's the Paige part. And the hook, that I added that, but we all know it's true. The hook of the having a non-horror fan watching horror movies is a good twist. Oh, that's me. Highly recommend. They're a really good listen, even if they're wrong about The Last Jedi, which
No.
I love that
We're
is
not.
the end of this review, and that would have definitely pissed Mikey off.
Yeah, that's true. On the 1 week he's not here.
So David Plummer, thank you so much for that awesome 5-star review. And if you want to have Mikey or me read a review for you, leave us a 5-star review with the caveat of I'm going to make Mikey read them going forward unless he's not here.
Yeah, for sure.
So guys, if you like this show but want to hear this power throuple on another movie review show about romance and romantic comedies, check out Romancing the Pod, where Mikey, Paige, and I break down and make fun of romantic movies. It's a lot of fun, guys. Check it out. If you want to follow us on social, please do. We are at Horror Virgin or online at horrorvirgin.com. If you want to follow us all individually, you can do that as well. Paige is at Paige Wesley on Twitter or Rampage Wesley everywhere else, including TikTok. Mikey is at mrandolph24 and I am at Todd J. Awesome. If you like the show so much and you want to help financially support it, please do by going to patreon.com/horrorvirgin, where you can get a lot of great levels and a lot of great stuff like bonus episodes, director's cut episodes where they're a little bit longer and you get them actually a day earlier than the regular feed drop. We do a lot of great things like listener requests and stuff like that. So guys, check out the Patreon and help support the show.
If you want to financially support me, but not Todd, just look me up on Venmo.
If you can't financially support the show, that's understandable. That's fine. But if you want to hang out with us on the daily, join the Facebook group at facebook.com/group/horrorvirgin. We also link it like once a week, so just find it there and join the awesome Facebook group. Literally, we're in there talking every day. It's awesome. And guys, we got a P.O. box. So if you want to send us some love letters or whatever you might send to a P.O. box, it's actually not a P.O. box. It's like a regular street address. It's pretty awesome. It's 6688 Nolensville Road, number 108-34, Brentwood, Tennessee 37027. So send us some stuff.
Yeah.
And if you want to check out our Twitch stream, we're at twitch.tv/Todd Awesome, where we will be playing horror video games. So if you have always wondered what it would be like to watch me get scared, you can now do that on Twitch while I play these horror games. It's twitch.tv/Todd Awesome, guys. Check it out. It's a lot of fun for you. Not a lot of fun for me. This episode brought to you by Tia, and Tia's teenager's been like driving her crazy. So how has Tia's teenager been driving her crazy this week, Paige?
She keeps burying memes in the circle. It's not going to make them more popular again. Sometimes dead is better.
Sometimes dead memes are better.
Yeah, Rick Astley's been buried out there for years.
I feel like he's ready for a comeback.
Yeah.
Will Tia's teenager stop burying dead memes? Let the memes die. This episode also brought to you by Jonathan, and Jonathan wants me to make you watch some videos, so I'm going to do that now. This video is called Weird 90s Commercials.
Okay. What? What is this?
This looks like a late night, you should be coming to church commercial. I knew it.
Prawn God?
What? Pray to the prawn god?
I don't like this. I don't like sea bugs or land bugs.
This feels like a 90s Adult Swim parody cartoon, and I
think
here
it
for
is.
it. Okay.
I think it is. Cleanliness is prawnliness in Jest of the Brine?
Yeah, prawn god. The 8 tenets of a prawn. Glory to the prawn. Okay.
Oh, it's Obvious Plant.
Oh, is that a thing?
Yeah. So Obvious Plant makes a lot of fake items and then leaves them in stores. And if you find one, you take a picture of it and post it.
I love that name for that premise.
Yes.
That's amazing. Well, Jonathan, thank you so much for that awesome video. We appreciate it. We now return you to another phoned in episode of The Patrioticals.
Okay, new episode of the Patrioticals coming from the beach. All right, well, let me close the balcony door here. So relaxed. Okay, everybody wakes up and everybody's in a fairy tale now. So they look around, it's like Oz, kind of like Wizard of Oz kind of stuff. Fairy tale, medieval stuff. So Isaac looks around and he's in Black Knight armor. Kate still has her psychic powers and is like a dragon, flies through the air. And they're like, what is happening? Karun and Natasha are still blue and they're holding hands and they're like, what is happening in here? Wes, the handsome dude, is now a prince. He is Prince Charming. Wes is now Prince Charming. Long, blonde curls, smile, all that stuff. Driscoll, still in an Iron Man suit. So that's still pretty cool in medieval times. Alia Mermaid still has her ability to turn mermaid and not. And she's dressed like a fair maiden. Boezy is just a Florida man in basically crop top and shorts and a hat with 2 beers on it, with the straw that goes into his mouth. Jeremy still has laser eyes and a robotic toe and a pitchfork. Alex, the evil magician, looks like an old-timey magician, but still a magician nonetheless. Lauren, the cave person, still looks like a cave person, but no longer has the cyborg club, has the regular old club. Mr. Rage Bomb is like, oh, do I still have my rage powers? And he cannot blow up like atomic style, but he still can shoot fireworks, which is still very cool. Vance, the serial killer, still grows knives, and he kills a little halfling hobbit person. Wanders off and murders him immediately. Karateka, the heavy metal bitch, uses her axe, and it's like a great axe, but it also plays the guitar now. Sunzi, the AI robot nanobots thing, just looks like the Tin Man now. Just looks like the Tin Man. Still made out of nanobites, but basically just the Tin Man. Between them all is Andrew, the golden retriever, who is super excited and gets thrown a treat. Anthony, the Time Lord, he still has his time grenade, and he is like, what the hell? Jennifer still has her force field powers, but also is dressed old-timey. Captain Bruder still is dressed like a pirate captain, and River Moon is still a big witch. Aaron and Libby, the Mun people, are now conjoined twins, and that's the thing that's happening in this storyline, but they're also people. All right, goodbye.
Well, I guess we'll have to wait till next week to find out what happens on another episode of The Patrioticals.
And that's going to be it for us, you guys. I'm Paige.
And I'm your horror virgin, Todd.
Keep it ooky spooky.
Yeah. Have an amazing week, as Mikey would say. Bye. Jules' impressions were straight fire nerds. Dude, they were great.